This is the Atari Flashback, the Essential Companion, which is a book that was recently published by Prima Games. If you're a fan of the Atari Flashback from At Games, this book here covers 66 of those games that they put out, and it's called the Essential Companion, which is really a poignant name because this thing has so much information in it, including the history of the Atari 2600, which was a very interesting read. It covers the Flashback series of games here and has some specifics for the Flashback units, including the game lists. My only regret with this book is I wish it was bigger. I wish it had all the games. I wish it had all Atari games, period. But it's very detailed. It has, each game is laid out like this. It has the section about the game, the object, how to play it, the different game modes, the game options, number of players, features, scoring, and then one of the things that I like most about it is the tricks, the tips and tricks section right here, and almost all of the games have that tips and tricks section. So the way the book is laid out, it has the history, the At Games versions, talks about the At Games versions, and then the games. The games are broken out by year of they were published. So it starts off with 77, 78, and it goes up through 88 to 90. But it only covers the 66 games, 65 games, excuse me, that were covered. And like I said, the interesting part about it, to me, one of the things I find really interesting are the tricks and tips. It's really in-depth and interesting and insightful. The tricks and tips here for Adventure, some of those I didn't know. There's only 3 listed, and I think Adventure could stand to use a couple of more, but these were a couple of these tips I didn't know about, so I was very impressed that they were able to come up with some interesting tricks and tips. And that's if you just look at it, every game has something, a fun fact, tricks and tips, scoring, difficulty, and nice photographs in some cases of the arcade cabinets if they were conversions, and of the game boxes. So I thought it was a very well put together book. It reminded me a lot of the Atari 2600 Encyclopedia Volume 1, which came out a couple of years ago, which was something like this, which was a little bit more ambitious, I think, than this, because he was trying to do all of the games. But I do look forward to what they put out next. You know, this was really interesting. There's a lot that's not in here. There's a lot of games not in here that I wish were. The only thing I wish is that they had more games in here. Like, I know Pac-Man's not in here, Miss Pac-Man, and there's a few that aren't in here that are like that. Quite a few when you consider that there's such a huge library in the Atari 2600. But one of the things I do like, you know, in addition to all it's the packed full of information, is the artwork that's in here. It's all really sharp, crisp color. And they have a few of these centerfolds in here, including this one, which was for asteroids. And it also has some pretty good tips and tricks on asteroids. And then here's the other centerfold for Centipede, which, how cool is that? Really cool. And like I said, you have the arcade cabinet about the game, tricks and tips, what the critics had to say. So again, this is a really nicely designed, well put together compendium or companion for the Atari Flashbacks. And I think even if you don't have a flashback, I think this is a very useful book. And I do. I highly recommend it. I think it's so cool. There's so much to read about in this book, so go check it out. The Atari Flashback, and it's available on Amazon currently for only about $13.